What up guys, it's your boy Karim, aka That Fish Guy. Today I'm doing a video to help guide you through some of the basics that you're going to need in order to get into this goldfish keeping hobby. So the first thing that I'm going to start off with is tank. It's easy to make the rookie mistake of buying the smallest tank in the store just to get started. Ultimately, it's penny wise, pound foolish. You're going to get a tank that isn't fit for purpose. It's not a good environment, and then later on, you're going to spend more money replacing it. So I recommend you buy the biggest tank that you can afford from the beginning. So for example, I recommend that you go for at least 150-liter tank to keep goldfishing. If you can stretch to 230 liters, that's even better. A tank like that will be more than adequate to hold maybe 3 to 5 goldfish, depending on how frequently you're doing your water changes. So that's what I recommend with the tank size. Get the biggest one that you can to start off with, within reason. The next thing that we need to consider is filtration. In order to keep the water clean, goldfish produce loads of mess. They're pooping all the time, their food's in there. You're going to need a good quality filtration system to keep that water clean. You've got a few options there. You could go for a cheap option, which is a sponge filter. You basically connect an air pump to the sponge. That pulls the water through the sponge, houses bacteria, filtrates the water. It's a cheap and effective way of running a filter in the tank. The other option is a submersible filter that goes within the water. It's a mechanical filter that pulls water in and spits it out once it's been dragged through the filter media. I don't really like these filters because I find them messy and hard to clean. I don't like pulling them in and out the tank personally, so they're not my favorite. I prefer canister filters, which sit outside of the tank and allow you to clean them outside of the tank. So you don't need to pull them in and out. They've got a hose that sucks water out through the filter media, and another hose that pushes the clean water back into the tank. So personally, I'd rather go for a sponge filter or a canister filter. In this aquarium here, I've got both. I've got sponge filters there, and then it's got an integrated canister filter that sits right under here, which is what I'd recommend. So now you've got your tank, you've decided on filtration. There's a few essentials that you basically need in order to make sure you've got a good, safe environment for the fish to get into, right? You're going to be filling it up with tap water, and that tap water comes with chlorine in it. So you're going to need a dechlorinating chemical, something that's like a water conditioner, in order to remove that chlorine and make it safe for the fish. The next thing that you need in a new tank that hasn't been cycled is beneficial bacteria. Now, the good thing is you can buy this in bottles, add it into the water, and it helps to seed your filters with that bacteria and get them ready to handle the bioload that's going to be produced by the fish that are going in there. Now, once you've got that beneficial bacteria added, you're also going to need a water testing kit. The water testing kit allows you to check the parameters of the water to make sure, again, it's a nice, safe environment for the fish to go into. You don't want to end up with dead fish now, right? So, water testing, pH levels, they range between 0 and 14. 7 is considered neutral, as safe for fish. If you're a little bit above that or a little bit below that, then it should be fine. But if you've got a drastic differential between 7, then you may need to do something in order to adjust that pH level to make it optimal for the fish. You also want to check for ammonia levels, nitrate and nitrite levels within the tank. You need to keep an eye on these things because if anything goes out of sync, basically your fish could end up dying, right? So over here, I've actually got Sasham water testing kits that basically stay in the tank all the time. So I could monitor the pH level of ammonia. So I recommend putting those in the tank as well as doing the ad hoc testing with the water strips that you can buy. Another essential thing which I would say, I don't add it all the time, but it's aquarium salt. I think it's very beneficial for the fish in the right doses. If they seem stressed out, it will help them to not get sick. If they get any injuries from bumping into things, which they can be prone to, a bit of aquarium salt helps with that. So I definitely have that on the list of things that you need. So the next thing is you're going to be needing to do water changes. And in order to do the water changes, you're going to need a siphon. Now, there's a picture up here of the siphon which I use. It's just one I got on Amazon, and I added some pipe into it to extend it out into my garden, so I didn't have to work with buckets. But another good siphon that people use is the Python siphon. That one's really good because it also allows you to fill your tank using that siphon. So it allows you to drain it and fill it. So I recommend you get a good quality siphon save you a lot of time in the long term. Right. Next thing, now that we've got a lot of the essentials, we've got our filter, we've got our tank, we've got, dechlorinated water in there, beneficial bacteria, we need to start thinking about how we're cycling the tank. So I'll go through this as quickly as possible because tank cycling could be a video in its own right. But if you've got those bacteria living in your filter, the next thing that you're going to need to do is now add ammonia to the tank, right? Because there's no fish in the tank to produce the ammonia. So you need to add it in because that ammonia is what's going to feed the bacteria and help them to grow and blossom within your filter. You want that bacteria to blossom so that it can then process that ammonia, turn it into nitrate so that your tank will be neutral for the fish, right? And then you get rid of the nitrate by either having plants or doing water changes. I mean, nothing's going to avoid water changes. That's what you've got to do anyway. It's a weekly requirement for being in the fish keeping business. Best way to add the ammonia into the tank, I find, if there's no fish, just break up some of their fish food, add it into the tank. As it starts to decay, it will produce ammonia and help get that cycle started. And then you can, basically check all of these parameters with the water testing kit. And then when you feel that things are ready, you can then start to introduce your fish in. Now, another thing which is optional, but I personally wouldn't keep fantasy goldfish without them, is having a heater in the tank. I find that having it running around 25.5 degrees Celsius is very beneficial, speeds up their metabolism, it helps with digestion, it allows them to grow a little bit faster, it helps them to avoid swim bladder problems. So if you can get a heater and put it in there and set it up, I think that it will really help the fish long term. Right, so we've got tank, filter, all your little water treatment essentials, your siphon, you've added ammonia in, you've now got the nitrate cycle going, you've got a heater in there. At this point, providing that all of your water parameters are good, you can start introducing the fish into the tank. And then once you've got your fish in there, you need to start planning out for your water changes. Now, personally on this tank, I find that about a 60% water change is perfect. That doesn't really cause too much of a drastic shift for the fish. They don't look too stressed out when I do it. So I recommend at least a 60% change per week. Try your best to make sure that the temperature of the water coming in matches the temperature of the water that's already in the tank. So personally, I actually turn the heater off for a little bit just before I add the new water in, just so that things are a little bit more in line and it's less of a shock for the fish that way. You're also going to need to maintain your filter. Most filters probably need, like a canister filter, probably needs cleaning at least once a month. And you need to clean it in the tank water because if you use tap water on it, all the chlorine will kill the bacteria and then that will ruin the cycling and the bacteria that you've got in there. So make sure you use tank water on it. Because I've got two different filters in here, I alternate. So like every 2 weeks, I'll clean out the sponge filters. And then the following 2 weeks, I'll get in here, clean out the canister filter. That way, there's always something that's seeded with bacteria in there to keep things safe within the tank. Those are the key things that you're going to need. Now, after that, you can consider which type of gravel, which type of lighting you want to have in there. Personally, I don't have any ornaments in here because I find it clutters it a little bit. These guys always bump into the different ornaments I've got in there. So I've just gone for a nice substrate. I've set up a little bit of LED lighting on the back that doesn't really disturb the fish too much. Allows me to create different cool effects in there. But yeah, these are my top tips just to get you started. Definitely, there's a lot more things to consider. I recommend that you do a lot more research and look at some videos on the nitrate cycle and other, sources that can fuel you with more information to get into this hobby. If you found the video helpful, please subscribe, drop any comments down below of any other videos that you'd like me to cover. As always, it's been a pleasure. Peace out.